Welcome back, friends. LostScarf here, and it's time for basically a podcast. And this time we're talking to Spiff Benevolent. And as always, these are conversations, and we just talk about whatever I think is interesting for us to talk about. But the first thing is, since I'm bringing on Spiff, and it's been a while, what have you been up to?
The same stuff mainly. Just doing my own thing. I'm not really an online person anymore, so I don't really do anything that would be notable, I guess, or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still here. I'm still playing some games, watching some things occasionally when I get the chance, and it's something I really want to look at. But actually, I feel like this is more like a recap from last time where you went off and watched and played some things that I recommended, and now you're coming back to me
Yeah.
to let me know how it was.
Yeah, and I think that's a fun conversation to have, because these are things other people might be interested in. But some of them are spoiler territory, so before we get there, I want to talk about some of the new things happening, like Fall Guys, because I know you've been really into it just like I have.
Yeah.
And what do you think is, like, how is it? Like, what do you think is the best thing about Fall Guys?
I don't know. I just like that I can play it for like 20 minutes if I want to, or 30 minutes or 10 minutes. Like, there's no real commitment to it, and it's just fun. I've heard people say it's frustrating. Like, two of my friends can't stand it, but most of my friends love it. But I know there's people out there that like legitimately cannot handle playing the game. It's too frustrating, and they give up. But I find it extremely relaxing, and even though at times it can be really intense for like a brief period of time, overall I think it's really relaxing because most of the courses are super easy.
Yeah, I think most intense moments are maybe like DoorDash when you get hit with the Black Friday stampede. That's always fun. Or like Tiptoe, where you're close to getting eliminated. Things like that, or just the win. I think anyone who gets really frustrated is the people who want to win. That's got to be it. Like, if you're looking at it as I want to win and not just mess around, and you're just not getting the W, I think that would be frustrating. And I know I've felt that because I've done like hour-long runs. I'm like, I'm so close, and I don't get it. But I've won enough times where I'm like, I don't need to be that frustrated. I've actually gotten it. Well, there's people who, I can't remember the streamer who didn't get a win after like 600 and something. What?
It was Tim the Tap Man.
Yeah, him. He didn't get a win for like 600 and something runs. Like, all right, yeah, I don't need to be frustrated. He's had it rough. Wow.
Yeah, one of my friends couldn't handle like the sheer amount of people that would bump into you. he in general, he doesn't like being around people.
Oh, okay.
And he gets frustrated by in the game, like he just gets frustrated by the lack of control that he has and the amount of people that are just bumping into him all the time. He quit after I think 2 games. I played like 2 rounds and he uninstalled it.
Like, yeah, that gets annoying sometimes when those are when I get a little annoyed. I'm like, dang it. Like Block Party, where you have to do like the jumping near the end.
Yeah.
And I'm good, and then someone knocks me over, like, oh, you gotta be, and then I'm out. I'm like, yeah. Like, the only lesson you can learn is don't be near people. Or like Slime Climb. People started to learn when you go on to, it's near the end, where there's the 2 poles and then the 1 pole you have to jump to get to the end, to get to the next part. People have learned to stand on that single pole, like that yellow stick pad thing. People have learned to stand there, and it makes other people fall off. It's really annoying. So I've just learned to just get ahead of everyone so I don't have to deal with that. Yeah, there are things that can be frustrating, especially when I remember I got to the end of Slime Climb. Someone grabbed me and pushed me off right before the end, and I got real mad. I was like, oh, you... I was so frustrated, and then like, I had to do another round. Because the nice thing about Fall Guys is it has the population. If it didn't have the population that lets you play like within a minute of failure, you can just play another round. If it wasn't like that, where you had to wait a long time, I think it would make people stew a bit in there if they were frustrated. But you can easily just get to another round and try again.
Yeah, that's what I love about it. You just keep going, and also I feel like I'm good at it, so that's nice too.
It always feels good when you think you're good at a game.
All right, so I've been watching. So I've watched season 1 of The Boys when it came out, and I really liked it.
Hmm.
Because it's like really, it's so messed up. And so I was it ends on I don't know if you know anything about it, but the season 1 ends on a cliffhanger, and it's like, where is this going? And season 2 recently dropped, and I thought they dropped an entire series, but they only dropped 3 episodes. So I
Ah.
just binged all 3 episodes and then realized that there were no more. And so I just, it was almost like a moment where, I don't know, it was very degenerate behavior, but I was like, I need something else right now, because I planned on binging this entire weekend.
Mm.
And so then I immediately went and looked up, for no reason at all, Metal Gear Solid 2 cutscenes, and I just watched that. So there's a 5-hour video that I went and watched because I was so keen on binging something that I had to fill the gap, and I ended up watching Metal Gear Solid 2, which is incomprehensible
Yeah.
and hilarious and dramatic, but it's actually it's real, like, it's overly dramatic. There's all these times someone takes off their helmet or whatever, and they like do a hair flip.
Yeah.
It's actually, it has astoundingly gay energy.
Hmm.
And I know Kojima. I know in the 5th one, there's the character Quiet that's like a little teenage boy fantasy type. Like, it's so
Yeah.
it's like almost. I would say it's disgusting, like the level that he went to justify it. Like, oh, she needs sunlight to power her superpowers or whatever. But yeah, so there's that, which is like, oh, this is like clearly like I don't know, heterosexual. But in the Metal Gear Solid 2, I find it extremely gay. So I don't know what's going on, but it's very entertaining.
Trying to remember 2 right now because I played 2 maybe 15 years ago, so I'm trying to remember 2. I remember random things like
Yeah,
there's the boat scene at the start, which is very interesting. About the boat scene is when your Snake is if you don't say that you played 1, you completely skip the boat scene.
that whole like the prologue
The
area.
entire prologue gets skipped
Really?
if you say you didn't play 1. Like that's there for
Why?
the fans of Snake apparently. So you lose that whole prologue. So
Interesting.
you don't have any backstory about I can remember her name's like Olga, I think, or Ola.
Yeah,
The
Olga. Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like that sets up the whole game. I'm surprised that they
yeah.
give you that option.
Kojima makes weird decisions, and then everyone treats it like an auteur kind of choice. And I just think he's just this is just what he wanted to do. It's I feel like we give certain directors way too much leeway
Yeah.
and way too much reverence when
Yeah. No,
sometimes they just do weird stuff and it just works.
I agree. I mean, the thing I will say is that's the studio that was making the Metal Gears, and him in general. They actually have a great sense of storytelling.
Hmm.
Not like the storytelling is all over the place in terms of like what happens and who is who. It's impossible to follow and keep track of unless you're a madman and
Yeah.
you've got a chart and everything. Like, I've looked up videos to try to understand it, but it doesn't help. Like, you actually get more confused. However, the cinematics and stuff, the way that they uh use suspense and just the drama of it all, it's very compelling. Like I was saying, it's very easy to sit down and watch 5 hours like I ended up doing. I got engrossed in it, and it was, the mysteries unraveling, and there's twist after twist, and it makes no sense. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it's visually nice. They know what they're doing from like a visual perspective, and it's entertaining. So I don't know.
Yeah.
In that sense, I think he definitely knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
like
in terms of every decision he makes being brilliant, I don't think so at all.
yeah, because I can think of a couple scenes that are really good from that one, like when Fortune is up against the one of the Metal Gears at near the end, and she's using her power. And, like that's a really dramatic. I think it's against Liquid Ocelot, I think, but where that's happening, and it's really dramatic, and like wait, she doesn't have her
Yeah.
thing. Like this looks pretty cool and everything. There's a lot of really stylish choices that look
Oh
very
yeah, they're always
nice.
in rain. They're always, there's always some dramatic backdrop.
And so I feel like when it comes to Kojima, it's like, I have all these crazy ideas and these crazy shots I want to do, and we'll figure out how to string it all together later. That's what it really feels like.
Yeah. Did you play Death Stranding?
I did not play Death Stranding. I've only played the Metal Gears, and I don't know. Death Stranding, just when I look at it, like, do I really want to play this? I don't think I do.
It just looks so tedious and disgusting.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. Like this, like it looks tedious. Like there's some
Yeah.
fun to it, I think, but like the beauty of our time is we have so many choices. We have an embarrassment of
I
riches when
know.
it comes to choices.
Yeah.
That's a question of where do I want to use my time. Whereas when we were younger, there were only so many picks, and it'd be like so you would pick whatever could give you like the most time you could enjoy with it for a long period. And yeah, we're at a point where because people will be like, if you don't have a certain console, like why don't you have this console? There's all these amazing games. Because I have this console and there's all these amazing games, and all my time's gonna get taken up here, so I'm good. Because there are like amazing games that I won't be able to play on the PlayStation because I don't have a PlayStation. So I won't be able to play Ghost of Tsushima. I won't be able to play. I didn't get to play Data War and things like that. But I have a lot of options with the Switch. I have a lot of options with the PC, which is basically
Yeah.
also the Xbox. So as much as I'm missing out on some things, there's a lot of things I'm being able to enjoy that are taking up that time anyway. And not just gaming, we have also riches when it comes to movies and television. We're in a
Yeah.
really good age of entertainment.
Yeah. I find myself not really feeling the need to play a lot of new things. Like I'll play one or two of the newer games. Like I'll play a Fall Guys or I'll
Mhm.
play I don't know, whatever's hot. But then I'll oftentimes be going back and look and either playing or watching things that are older just because either I feel like I miss things or especially with games, I think there's some people were trying to do interesting things a while ago and now we've kind of synthesized a lot of that out, it feels like, and we're just going for the most streamlined experiences where there were some interesting ideas being tossed around, just like the Metal Gear series as an example. That's kind of I mean, Death Stranding, I have no idea what's going on in that game, so maybe I'm
Yeah.
I'm using Metal Gear as an example when actually Death Stranding is even more unique and more interesting, but it looks awful, so I'm not going to play it.
Yeah. Like one example is, say, like Shadow of Mordor, the Nemesis system, just looks like such
Yeah,
an ingenious system, and I've never seen it utilized by anyone else. Until
yeah,
now, I found an indie that's going to use it called Star
really,
Renegades, and in that game, you get to see the hierarchy of the enemy force. I'm like, oh, good, finally someone's using the dang Nemesis system because it's such an
yeah,
ingenious system. So I'm glad an indie's picking it up. At least someone's doing it. And that's where I look to indies. 90% of indies are not great, but there's that 10%. Like I've already played where like 2/3 through the year, I've already played about maybe 200 to 300 indie games,
wow,
and maybe 20 of them were worth your time. It's very I really feel for indies because it's all these people trying to follow this dream or this idea, and a lot of times it's either the execution or the idea, just something that just doesn't work. And even when it's an amazing game, sometimes it just doesn't find its audience, which is also frustrating. But there are some really good gems that just make you want to play them again and again and again.
yeah,
And let's see, what's the biggest indie? Like, they're just interesting ideas. Like, Star Renegades is coming out in 2 days, and it's gonna have Nemesis. Like, this episode will be out around the time it comes out. And it's gonna have Nemesis system, and it's from the people who made Halcyon 6. And Halcyon 6 was a
okay.
pretty interesting game. It was like Deep Space Nine, but you're dealing with alien invasions, and you did a lot of management. It was pretty fun. And
Have you seen 198X?
198. That sounds
I don't think it's
familiar.
out yet.
198. I don't think I have.
It's
Maybe.
it's a Nintendo uh indie. I don't want to say it's an exclusive, but it might be.
I gotta look
I
this up.
think it's like it's a coming of age drama, but through like arcade games from the 90s or
Oh,
2000s.
this came out last year,
Is it out?
2019. June 20. Yeah, last year. Yeah.
Huh.
Huh, I didn't see this one. Okay. Yeah. There's
I didn't
also
realize it was out.
a lot of indie games. So it's like kind of like a nostalgia kind of thing.
Yeah, it looks like nostalgia, but interesting art style and storytelling convention. I'm curious. I didn't realize it was out, but I got to look into it because I saw the trailer the other day. I was like, man, how did I miss this? It's
Yeah,
cool.
kind of curious about that one. Just as a That's what I also like about gaming is there's so many experiences you can have. Like there's a coming of age
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the best indies I've played in years was Night in the Woods was really good.
Yep.
That was really relatable. Also, this the beauty of indies is the different ideas. Like, of course, going back like Papers, Please, that was a hell of an idea.
Oh yeah, great. That's probably the greatest indie game ever, right? Other than Minecraft.
It's really
Other
good.
than
Like, it's really good. I don't know what you could say is the. I think the greatest indie game of all time probably is Minecraft. At the end of the day,
yeah.
it did so much. Like whether you like um Notch or not at this point, he made an incredible thing, and it took him like 10 years to make it, and
Yeah.
it's just gone places.
You know what? Hold on. I'm thinking about Metal Gear still.
That's
This is gonna be
fine.
like Fast and Furious from last time. No, Metal Gear. I don't know how you are, but I love anything to do with spies. I love mystery, that thriller feeling.
Yeah.
And there's something about when I'm watching the cutscenes of it or playing the game, either any of the Metal Gears, you feel really compromised all the time because you don't really know what's going on. So you're vulnerable in a sense where you're ignorant as to who is what, who you can trust, all that stuff. You're in a very compromised situation from that regard. And it feels like at any time you can be killed, even though you're like an elite soldier. Someone can always expose you, and that happens a few times in those games where you kind of either get someone betrays you or you get found out and then you're getting like tortured or whatever. Like I'm watching Metal Gear Solid 3 right now and that's
Hmm.
happening. Because as I said,
Yeah,
I was
I was
really
thinking of
set
that.
on binging things. I'm now binging Metal Gear Solid 3 cutscenes.
Well, have
But
you
yeah.
finished Metal Gear? Have you played 3 or just watching it now? Or
No, you know what? I don't think I no, the I honestly I think here's the thing.
Mhm.
I remember growing up and watching all these games get played.
Okay.
So I'm like rewatching them. And I don't really remember much. I only watched a bit of because I would like go to a cousin's house or something and watch them play it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I watched Metal Gear Solid 2 when I was a kid and a bit of Metal Gear Solid 3, maybe a bit of 4. I actually played 5 myself.
Mm.
I enjoyed that one.
Okay. Like,
I don't think I finished it.
all right, because 3's my favorite.
Really?
Uh, just when you think about them, they're all insane. All of them are insane because
Oh
that's
yeah.
Kojima for you. Um, but 3, I think just the way he did the storytelling and just the way he is dramatic and how he does things, it
Yeah.
got me in the end. In the end, I cried at the end of at 3. It really got me
Yeah.
because there's a
Here's
lot about duty and things like that, and what you're willing to do for your country. What do you think?
what I don't get is if you were playing these in order, I did everyone back then just take them as they came and were just playing them and like, oh, okay, because you have there's so many of the same characters, but the storyline is so messed up. I don't understand how you go from one to the other and make sense of it. Like I'm just watching them as their own games basically and not even thinking about like the larger implications because like for example the second one is like 30 or 40 years in the future or 50 maybe I don't even know
It's
compared to the third one
yeah.
is going backwards, so I don't even understand what is happening.
I think 1 is whenever it happens, and then 2 is maybe 20 years later or 30 years later. It can't be too much further because Snake can't get too old yet.
Yeah.
And then yeah, 3 is Snake's father, which make it more complicated. And then 4,
Oh. Oh.
3 is Snake's father. That might
Oh,
be
I didn't
what
even
got
know
you there.
that.
Yeah. So the father of Liquid and Solid Snake is 3 because he's Naked Snake.
It's so stupid.
Actually, I don't even know if they convey that.
Uh,
I don't even know if they convey that it's his father, and so it's just really confusing, right? Because they even
yeah.
call it like a virtuous mission. It's like a virtual mission. No, a virtuous mission. It's like
Yeah.
it's getting more
Yeah.
screwy.
Yeah, I had no idea what they're talking about. They also they just casually mentioned VR in 2001, and they don't so in Metal Gear Solid 2, they mentioned VR,
Yeah.
and they never define it as virtual reality. And I'm watching it in 2020, and it makes perfect sense. But I'm like, I thought about it as, would anyone have gotten this? Like, I know they talk about simulations a lot too, but would anyone have defined it as virtual reality? Because I don't think they ever mention it as that.
It becomes a question of when did The Matrix come out? Because I feel like The Matrix really affected how people view virtual reality.
Yeah, Matrix was 90s, late 90s,
Matrix
99,
was 99, and then Metal Gear Solid 2 is definitely after that point.
2001.
Yeah, so I feel
Yeah.
like The Matrix really gave a lot of people the abstract concept of virtual reality.
Yeah.
So it's possible he was relying on that because you see how creators are influenced by movies here and
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and so it's possible that. But let's see, another thing with 3, like Raiden. If you pick, because if you pick it that you play it, they'll ask you what's your favorite game, Metal Gear Solid 1 or Metal Gear Solid 2, when you play 3. And if you pick 2, Snake wears a Raiden mask at the start. So you're like, what the fuck? You get confused, like, what do you mean? What's Raiden doing? He's like, oh no, it's Snake. All right, okay.
And then he just rips it off.
Yeah, they just
Interesting.
weird Kojima choices to mess with you.
Interesting.
But like, it's really weird. Also, yeah, thinking about how the boat's not there if you don't say that you played 1, because they
Yeah.
talk about the La La Lo. They talk about the Patriots.
I don't even know what I was watching that. I was just laughing because I had no idea what this stupid, la la la, whatever.
Yeah,
What is this?
it's a weird thing of like there's all these different groups. There's the Patriots. There's the La La Lo. There's so much silly stuff going on.
The philosophers.
Yeah,
there's their own thing, right?
There's just too much going on. Oh, and then when you get to 4, they try to wrap everything up, and that doesn't sound. It all sounds insane trying to wrap it all up in 4, and then 5 happens, which is even further back. As here, 5 is before 1. It's after 3.
Really?
Yeah, it's 5 is in the past. It's not in the future. To make it even more confusing, it's another game in the past.
Well,
it's weird because
Yeah.
it's because you're trying to understand whether or not it's Big Boss or it's not. With this one, and Big Boss died before 1. It gets all confusing, and then 2 got more confusing because of freaking Solidus Snake looks just like Big Boss, and like just because you got that, just because you lost your eye doesn't mean you're dead, and things like that. It's just a lot of complicated stuff is going on, and I just feel like it's not on purpose, but just we'll just say this did it. It's basically the equivalent of back in the day, God did it, like just for everything.
Yeah.
Like some higher power did it, or some shadow power did it, and we'll figure it out later. And then it's like, we never figured it out later, but here's what we got anyway.
I love the superpower aspect to it too. It's like a spy super. There's a bunch of characters that have these like abilities, and that's can be very intimidating when you're just like a normal guy. Snake's just a normal guy.
Yeah, that's what special is. That's why he gets cloned, is because Snake's just such a really good normal guy. They're like, this guy's really good for a normal dude. We should clone him. And it's like, all right.
Yeah, as someone who doesn't really know anything about the series, but I've tried to understand it a little bit, and now I'm going back and watching them. It's very hilarious to me how, like, I'm generally aware of the clones and everything, but it just all makes me laugh because it makes no sense.
Yeah, I feel
That's
like
the bottom line.
even going through them, and even if you watch versions where they take the piss out of the game, like they know what they're talking about as well, and it's still confusing. And even if you play all 5, I feel like you still don't understand, because also
Gotta appreciate them.
It's relying on trying to remember all that stuff while you're playing as well.
Yeah,
it's just insane. Like the stuff, like then there's like, how far you went to the 3? Like, you're at the torture scene. Okay, so you're at Snake getting tortured. You said.
Yeah.
All right, so okay, that stuff's up. So you've seen Ava. There's stuff with Ava that's like really confusing, and even when you know all of her stuff, like what the hell's going on with this character, and everything going on with Adam, and Also, Revolver Ocelot was a dork even back then with his guns,
Oh yeah.
and Ocelot's just a silly, fun character. But it's
Yeah.
also just fun having Snake beat him up because, like, dude, seriously.
Well, in the fifth one, he's good and cool, I thought. Right? In the fifth one, isn't Ocelot, he's on the base with you the whole time.
Yeah, like he's always been cool. It's just whether or not he's on your side or not, or
Okay.
also because Ocelot's another spy character. You never know what the hell's going on with him. You also don't know who's actually his boss, even though because I think in like one he's like, "Yes, Mr. President," or yeah, because Mr. President is Solidus Snake, right? So that's happening. It's such a confusing mess of a game series.
But the gameplay is really cool. And like the cutscenes are great. So
Yeah,
that's all you really need. You just know that it's stupid going in, and then just laugh and enjoy
yeah.
it does tension well. It does
Yeah,
tension
it
well.
really does. Like, and the boss fights are fun.
Oh yeah.
For three, let's see here. It's the pain, the sorrow. I forget what the old guy's called right now. The
The
fury.
the Russian guy?
The sniper with the parrot. He's in a
Oh,
wheelchair. He's the
isn't he Big Boss or no?
and he's the end. Can't remember what his name is.
Yeah.
Um, there's like the sniper fight's really good when you don't know what you're doing. Because the way that fight goes is he's not even trying to kill you, he's using trank rounds the whole time. And you're in this
Ah.
giant field and it's a sniper battle. And he's really hard to find because the dude's literally photosynthetic. So he gets powered by the sun. So if you want, you can actually wait for nighttime in that game to be able to fight him easier. Or you can wait for clouds, if I remember correctly. Like in that game, you could do things like that. I remember if you're in
Yeah.
a cave for 30 minutes, the game gets brighter because your eyes adjusted to the darkness. It's there's little things like that. I just can't remember
Love
the
that.
name of him right now, but it's a really fun sniper battle. Like, sniper battles are really hard to do right. Like even the one with Sniper Wolf was all right compared to this one.
Did you ever play 007 Nightfire on the PlayStation 2 or the GameCube?
I might have. I played some of the 007s. Like my favorite, of course, is GoldenEye, and I played some of the others.
I really love 007 Nightfire still holds up.
Nice.
I don't think GoldenEye does at all, but
Probably not. But it's definitely a thing of its time, especially because you need the 64 controller to play it too.
yeah, I mean the Nintendo 64, despite all the nostalgia, I don't think it holds up. I think the GameCube games actually hold up better because they just had that little extra bit of power and tinkering and knowledge.
Like I'll have to think. Like unless they give us a 64 classic, I don't know what might have held up. I would assume Star Fox 64 holds up because it was such a good game in
Yeah,
general. I know Kirby 64. Like I'm gonna eventually play Kirby 64 again from my other podcast, so I'll see how
yeah.
well that holds up. But like 007, just with how janky it looks and everything, I wonder. I know I spent a lot of time as a kid playing 007 GoldenEye.
Yeah.
There's Donkey Kong. What's it called? Yeah, Donkey Kong 64 was in there.
I just played Smash Bros 64. That
Ooh.
was pretty decent actually. Mario Kart 64 is terrible.
Hmm.
Uh it was fun for nostalgia, but as a game, especially if you do anything, if you do any sort of split screen playing,
Mhm.
it's awful. It is genuinely awful. It made my eyes bleed.
That's important. Yeah, I would assume just off memory, like Double Dash is probably still really good from the GameCube.
Yes.
Um,
Excellent.
yeah, I still play Pikmin 1 and 2. Like I
Yeah.
still play on the game, like with the Wii, of course, as in place of the GameCube, but still the GameCube game. Those are
Yeah, that's
good.
a great one.
Which oh
Yep.
yeah, Pikmin 3's coming, like the definitive edition's coming to Switch. I would
I
rather
know, yeah.
4, but I'll take it.
I never played Pikmin 3 actually. Really like what they're doing though, because as much as maybe the hardcore Nintendo fan, like someone more like I won't want to say you're a hardcore Nintendo fan because I don't know, but
Hmm.
you're someone who would at least have played all these games, I think, right?
Yeah, I grew up Nintendo.
Yeah, so you've played like all the Wii U era games and Wii era games.
Hmm.
I think most people actually miss them. So like, and I'm judging that based off myself and just the more casual fans. Like I love Nintendo stuff, but I'm not gonna play every single game on every single generation because I'm just not into them that much.
Yeah.
I love when they get things right, but like for example, the Wii U I didn't play at all. I missed
Mhm.
it completely. So yeah, I mean, like I didn't play Pikmin 3. I didn't play Tropical Freeze, the Donkey Kong game. I never played that. What's another one that they brought back? They brought back a couple Wii U games.
That's the problem. The Wii U was unfortunately a very forgettable system, so I can't even think of what else there was. Yeah,
Is a
because
Mario Toad's Adventure or whatever I think was
oh,
also.
Captain Toad was pretty fun. I like that. That was good. It's a cute adventure kind of puzzle adventure game. When they ported the Switch, I was happy with that because they added more to it.
Yeah.
What was another Wii U? Well, I played Breath of the Wild through the Wii U instead of the Switch, so that was there, but it was also on the Switch at that point.
I think I did as well. Um but then I ended up getting it on the Switch cuz I think didn't it come out first on the Wii U?
Yeah, it came out. Uh, Yeah, I think it came out first on the Wii U and then the Switch. I forget. It came out either as a launch title for the Switch, or came out just
Yeah.
before the Switch, then as a launch title for the Switch.
Yeah, it was. I remember it on Wii U. It was a little bit of there some frame rate issues, so I ended up just waiting and getting on the Switch instead.
Yeah. All right, Splatoon was a Wii U game. Okay. Xenoblade Chronicles
That's
X.
true.
Super Mario
But like,
Maker, right? Super Mario Maker was pretty good.
yeah, there's a couple Mario titles that they just ported over.
All right, Pokken. Pokken was all right. Oh yeah, Wonderful 101 was around the start of the Switch. I mean, the Wii U. Oh, Yoshi's Woolly World. So the Wii U relied a lot on first party to keep going.
Yeah, but
Uh,
that's fine. I mean, I think that's a good strategy that they're doing, where they're just taking all the best titles that they can get from the Wii U era because so few people played it. I mean,
yeah,
it'd be one thing if it was a massive success and they were just porting over these games. It's like, all right, that's kind of lazy. But in reality, it's like, hey, we have this library. We might as well put stuff on here. Now, speaking of that, I wish they would put all the games from, uh, was it the NES subscription? They don't even have all the games or whatever. Am I
yeah.
am I wrong about that?
They don't have them all. There's a lot of them, but not all of them. They're slowly bringing them out, and I think if they let that library keep growing, I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
If they ever start taking games out of the library, then I'll be upset. Because I
yeah,
think the NES library and the Super NES library definitely justify having the online
yep.
subscription, especially if you're not playing Splatoon or something. Um, when I was, God, how old am I now? Maybe 20, 18 years ago, the only way to play a lot of these games was to either own the system or emulation.
Yep.
And I went out of my way to play every single Super Nintendo game I could find on emulation. So it's nice seeing them again and being able to play them on a console instead of having to play them on a PC. So I've played like hundreds of SNES games, and it's just nice seeing them again here. And I really would like it if they could somehow get a hold of Sega's library and just put it on there too. I don't know how they'd pull it out.
That would be insane.
Like if Nintendo could acquisition or rent just Sega's games and put them on online, like, oh wow, this era's back. That'd be so cool.
Somehow I don't think that's gonna happen,
No,
but
never. The best chances if Sega does a couple classic. That's the only way. And I
what
don't
do
have a problem with that.
What do you think of the Nintendo Direct, the Mario All Stars business, all that stuff from last week?
So, it was great until someone brought up it's a monkey's paw. I'm like, oh dang it, yeah, okay. I was really hype until that moment because it's you get to play these games again, and the one that got me is like, oh, I get to play Sunshine again
Yeah.
because I haven't played Sunshine well since it came out the first time.
Yep.
And I remember it being like the water looked pretty nice and all the paint and everything was really cool.
Yep.
And I assume that that's kind of how Splatoon happened was They're like, we can do something with paint or something with, because originally it was going to be a Mario game, Splatoon, and something like paint and water. We did something like this before with Sunshine, and then they decided to make it an original IP, and that became Splatoon.
Wasn't there the Mario game? What was that Mario game where he had paint? Wasn't there a Mario game? Or no, is it Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse. What was that Disney game?
Epic Mickey.
Yeah, was that Nintendo or no? Am I losing my mind?
It was a Nintendo exclusive at first. Eventually, it went to the other consoles.
Okay,
but it was originally just Nintendo, if I remember correctly.
Okay,
that one's interesting because the guy who made Epic Mickey, his PhD thesis was on original Mickey, so they got the perfect guy for the job.
Okay,
because he brings in Oswald the Rabbit. And that was Walt Disney's original creation was Oswald the Rabbit. It's kind of the same thing as Matt Groening, where Matt Groening's going to Fox. He's like, wait, if they buy my From Hell IP, then I don't have anything. So I'm just going to make up these characters called The Simpsons and go with that. Mickey Mouse was the same thing, where Walt Disney didn't want to let go of his Oswald the Rabbit. So he just made Mickey Mouse and gave them that, and the rest is history from there.
Yep.
So Mickey Mouse is the second son of Walt Disney. So Epic Mickey is interesting because it goes over some of Oswald the Rabbit stuff. It even has some of the original shorts in the game, which was pretty cool. So like the old 19-something, 1920s or 30s black and white cartoons, that's pretty cool to see for preservation. And it has stuff like Oswald the Rabbit feeling like the forgotten son of Walt Disney. It's interesting stuff in there. Also, it has a morality system, so Mickey can become more crazy or more nice as you go. Because he's using paint and he's using paint thinner. So you can destroy and you can create in that game. They had some interesting ideas in that one.
Did you play Galaxy?
Yeah, I played Galaxy. I really liked Galaxy. I played with my sister. I liked both. I think 2 refined things pretty well, but it didn't feel as great, I guess, story-wise, because Rosalina kind of wrapped it up pretty well together.
Okay.
How do I put it? It's just Mario just going around getting told to do things nebulously, I guess, whereas 1 was more, you have someone telling you what to do in a way. More focused, I guess. And I played them with my sister, so player 2 is they just shoot stars at the screen. But what I like is Mario has been used by Nintendo to break the mold so many times. And you see that with the 3 games they've chosen here. So Super Mario 64 broke the mold. They went from 2D to 3D, and it just blew everything open. You got all these 3D platformers after that. I'm gonna say Splatoon. Super Mario Sunshine just showed what you could do graphically, and also that you don't have to just platform. You can also do things with water and paint, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they love a gimmick.
And then Galaxy. You're going around little planets, and this is a whole new thing. It's a different kind of 3D. You're using gravity, and it was such a cool idea doing that. And then you still had flat stages that you could do that were really challenging. And Mario has been great for platforming the entire existence of gaming. Mario's been great for platforming.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'll definitely. I don't know. Well, I'd probably go straight to Sunshine, I think, but I'd never sat down and played Galaxy for some reason. Okay. I even had it, and I never played it, so I don't know what's wrong with me.
The only problem with Galaxy is it will give you major motion sickness if you get any motion sickness at all. Because I know people with motion sickness issues that cannot play Galaxy.
Yeah, that's not me. Do you remember when Mirror's Edge came out? Because I remember there was so much hype about reviewers having played it and getting sick, and they had to puke and stuff. So I remember I had a puke bowl next to me, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I don't get motion sick."
I remember that. Mirror's Edge was an interesting, ambitious idea that, in the end, didn't really work out, but wasn't bad. The newer version just. They just let's just redo the game again. Oh, all right.
Is there a third one?
I can't remember if there's a third. I think they maybe wanted to do one and it didn't happen. That's Nintendo again. Nintendo really brought open platforming in first person, because I remember that for Prime. But when they did Metroid Prime, everyone was like, "You want to do a first-person platformer? No one does that. What the hell? Why are you doing that?" And then it worked. And other people started to do it. Mirror's Edge tried to take it to the next level with parkour and all that. It was all right. It was okay. Not a lot of games have really utilized it as to the degree Mirror's Edge or Prime have. Like there's running around. I think Doom does a lot of really good frantic parkouring around and fighting and everything, which is really good. But it's not really for exploration. Well, you do exploring in Doom, but it's not like it's a platforming game. It's more of you platform to blow up demons. But it's really good. It's fun. Where are we?
I have no idea.
Oh, right. Other thing to talk about from that direct. Super Mario 35, or whatever it's being called. I'm really excited for that because I really like Tetris 99. I've never won Tetris 99, but it's really fun when you get to the end and you're taking on an expert and you just can't beat them, but you're trying your best.
Yeah, I remember I played for weeks and I came so close. I got second or third a few times, but I never won. That was so annoying.
Yeah, it's like there's always just one really good player.
Yeah.
It is funny when 20 people gang up on you. It's also just very stressful when 20 people gang up on you.
Yeah.
I'm in danger. So 35 is going to be interesting like that too. Problem is, well, it's 35, which means there are people who spent 35 years playing this game, so it ain't going to be easy. It'll be a fun novelty. I'm just disappointed by the thing they said. In March, it's all going away. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's a really weird decision that Nintendo makes here and there, where they have this gigantic, robust library they could utilize, but instead they just Disney Vault it, and I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's something I never understood, even with Smite, where I don't care for limited skins. I don't care for limited digital things. Like, we could all just have this. Instead of putting the cake behind the window, we could all just have the damn cake.
Yeah.
As many times as we want, whenever we want. Instead, it's behind something that we can't get past. And it just feels not right in a digital age to do that. Because, well, if it's out there, then people who weren't there yet can buy it now. With it being in the vault, well, they don't have access to it. They can't buy it. So I don't see how you're making more money. It becomes, I guess, using hype as a currency. Well, it's gone for now. We'll bring it back in a couple of years, and then everyone will be hyped for it again, I guess. But I don't see any value in that. I feel like it's just not making money that way. Still, it was a pretty hype direct. Every week, people are like, there's going to be a new direct, there's going to be a new direct, and then it finally happens. And then next week, people are like, there's going to be a new direct, right? I feel like there needs to be one more Smash Fighter this year, but who knows how development's going, because of course the virus is here.
Yep. Speaking of virus, Parasite.
Oh, you want to talk about it? Let's talk about Parasite. Okay, so without spoiling yet, holy shit, that movie.
Yeah.
The camera work is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The music is, like, the way music is used to set the mood is really good.
Mm-hmm.
The acting, the little moments with the acting, where, like, near the end, when it's the father, I can't remember the father's name right now, and he's driving, and the rich wife is there, and she's in the car, and she rolls down the window. Also, the framing of everything. She's got her feet up on the passenger seat. She's talking on the phone loudly. She rolls down the window because she thinks he smells when she's got her feet right next to him. And you see him noticing her roll down the window, and just a little tinge of annoyance on his face. Like, he's already annoyed, and he gets a little more annoyed. Like, it's subtle, but it's enough.
Yep. Everything's, like, under the surface for the first 3/4 of it, and then it boils up. Yeah,
and that's the amazing thing of it is, it really is a slow boil, the entire movie. It is just slowly rising as you go. Like, from start to finish, here's what I was going to say, all right, this is very relatable, because I grew up poor. I grew up bit personal. I grew up with cockroaches in my house. I grew up with a lot of this kind of poor stuff that happens at the start, and it felt
Yeah.
way too familiar. I was like, this is way too familiar for me. The father talking to his son feels like things that have happened with me and my father. Like when
Yeah.
the dad says, "I'm proud of you, son," I felt that. I'm like, yeah, I've had that moment being the oldest son in a poor household trying to make it. I felt that, and just the struggle and what you try to do. Now, of course, what they do, going into like the middle is not something I would do, but it just feels like, holy crap, are they really trying to pull this? Yeah, they are. All right, okay. Like as it's going, like I can say things that were in the trailer. Like there's Heejun is the main character, I think. Well, is the oldest son. I think that's his name. Then there's his sister. I'm wondering, is the sister everyone's favorite character? Because I feel like she is.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, like she's my favorite. I think she's just everyone's favorite. And like in the trailer, you see that he gets the job, and then they do stuff to get her the job as well.
Yeah.
And just the next level from there, I'm like, oh, they're really trying to do that. Okay, they're all right.
It's like an infiltration.
Yeah, and as they're trying to infiltrate, I'm like, are they really gonna take it all the way? Yeah, they're going all the way with this idea. And it just feels, I'm like, oh, this is feeling a little greedy now. Damn, all right. And the interaction with different characters, and there were so many places I thought it was going to go, and it didn't go in those directions. It just kept surprising me. But it also felt like, yeah, this feels right as well. But the progression just kept like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I thought it was going to be this other thing. Oh, I didn't see this coming. I thought it was going to be this other thing. And that's something I appreciate is it surprised me while also at the same time as it progressed, aside from some of the crazy twists that do happen, it kind of fits and makes sense where it goes.
Yeah, it's just funny. In the beginning, you think it's going to be the movie's really sympathetic to the plight of like the underclass.
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, it is. It is. I think he the director Bong Joon-ho, I think he was making that with that element in mind. Like he is thinking of the impoverished and how the system crushes them, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it's not like they're shown to be excellent people. It's not. He doesn't do anything where that's often found in like Christianity, where the poor are upheld as excellent. You know, there's virtue in being poor or whatever.
Yeah.
He doesn't do any of that. He like because what's funny about seeing people use memes and images and the way people have reacted to it on Twitter, for example, it's like a clinical misreading of the movie, I think, where people try to make it that the rich are these evil monsters and the poor are these heroes, but that's not what the movie's like at all. If you watch the movie, generally speaking, the rich family is quote unquote better morally than the poor family. It's not until about the halfway mark where you start to see the ways in which the rich family is terrible as well. But generally speaking, the poor family is terrible. and
Yeah.
yet you see, if you see people react to it and the way people talk about it and the way people post memes about it, it's almost like the moral of the story is rich people are bad, but that's not at all what it's about. I don't think, from my reading of it, is it's an attack on an entire system and not a class of people, even though there are clear critiques of people that are wealthy and the 1% or whatever. But I think the big point in the movie is that was really the turning point, is the scene where the the poor family, I keep calling them that because it's been so long since
That's
I've
what
actually
they
seen
are,
it
though.
now.
Yeah.
What's the family's name actually? Do you know?
I
The
think
Park family.
yeah, the Park family. It's the Parks, forgot the other
And the
two.
Kims.
The Parks and the Kims, and then there's that third family.
Yeah, so
there.
the Park family, I mean, when they get control of the house for that one night where
Yeah.
the Kim family goes away, that's really the turning point because up until that point they've infiltrated the family and everything, and that night they basically assume control and usurp the Kims as the ruling class. Like just for like a night, they gain control and they try to take their place as the rich people, and there's a whole discussion, and it's like not even subtext. It's they're talking about how the rich people are only nice because they're rich and all this other stuff. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, they're drunk on power basically. And then as soon as the Kims come back from that little mini vacation that didn't work out, the Kims all of a sudden, I don't think it's a coincidence at all that the Parks try to take power, and then the Kims immediately shove them back down. Either the movie does it and shoves them back down, they get smacked back down, or the Kims are doing it to them and shoving them back in their place, basically.
Yeah,
And all these bad things happen to them after that.
the
The
whole thing's
Kims
doing it.
or the Parks.
Yeah. Now I'll say spoiler warning because it's just getting into it. I'll put a time for after this in the description to get at past this. The people who haven't seen Parasite. I think on a surface level, like the thing about his movies are there's a lot of class warfare in his movies, and his older stuff was very much just in your face. Yeah, capitalism's bad. The rich are bad. F the rich. Like straight out says it to your face. He's gotten more subtle with time. With this one, he got way more subtle. But on a surface level, what I like is people have different interpretations. But I feel like the final interpretation is everyone's a parasite. But the surface level is the Parks are the parasite or the Kims are the parasite. And you'll see articles of that where people are like, wow, he really hates the poor. Or it's like, oh, wow, he really hates the rich. And it's more, everyone's a parasite in this movie for different reasons. The Kims rely on the Parks for different things, and the Parks rely on the Kims for different things. And then there's the third family who's also relying on other stuff. And it felt too relatable and also frustrating because of how relatable it was when you had both poor families fighting for scraps.
Exactly. I was gonna say, I mean, it's hard to view the Park family as like some hero of the underclass when they're literally stomping on the other people that are working alongside them, like the former kitchen manager and the former driver. They literally shoved those people down, to achieve the status that they do, which is not that much higher. But and there's one point where somebody asks like, "Hey, what about them? Do you think they still have work?" That's at the part where they take the house for a night, and someone was like, "Oh, forget about them. Who cares?" I think it was the girl, young girl. She's like, "No, forget about them. Who cares?"
The story was very human because everything was believable.
Yeah.
Having characters who are like, do you think they're okay? And then having the daughter who's fed up with things like, screw them, it's about us. And you understand both their mindsets.
Yeah.
And you understand the father's mindset and the mother's. But when the big twist happens, well, one thing is when they replace the house lady, the housekeeper, I'm like, she's going to come back. That was the only thing I got right. She's coming back. Something with her.
I thought she was going to murder them, though.
Yeah, I thought she was going to do something crazy.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the crazy that I thought it was going to be.
It was crazy, though.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, what? And like the thing with the cellar, like, what's she doing in the cellar? It's like, oh, there's a dude down here. Now we're spoiling it. That dude. And then the crazy stuff with him, like just being isolated and how he sees Mr. Kim as some like God figure. So you're like, all right, yeah, I believe that because he's been down here this whole dang time. And just everything going with that. And when they have the moment where she's like, look, I'll pay you to keep taking care of my husband, I'm like, take the money, just do it. Be nice. But she's just crapping on this lady the whole time. Like, no, work together. You're doing this well, it'll complicate things. But you've already got a pretty complicated situation. Working with her is having an ally is better than not. But she's totally against it. And that for me is the turning point that hurts the family. Is when she decided not to do it, and then they fall over like dorks. That's where everything changes. It's like, all right, so that's the big turning point of the film, and then you have the whole thing where they're just basically being hostages, and they're doing that
Yes.
whole North Korea talk.
Yes. It's funny because the former housekeeper calls the park mom sis.
Yeah.
She's like, "Hey, sis, let's work together on this." And then because the parks have the power, she's like, "Screw you, bitch." And like she literally says that. And then when the tables are turned and the former housekeeper has the power, the park mom calls her sis,
Yeah.
and she's like, no, I don't think so. You just told me to screw up.
Hmm.
There's no way I'm going to go along with this," which I think is hilarious. And also, yeah, the whole digital nuke thing, where if I send this button, it's like launching a nuke. Like,
Yeah.
you just completely lose control. And that has different. I'm sure that played differently
To Korea, yeah.
to Korea. It's a little more close to home for them. So I think that reference is a little bit different.
Because I feel like for them, North Korea is always in the back of their mind. Like for some people, it's like, oh, they'll never do anything, but they could.
Yeah.
They'll
It's a
never do
little
anything, but
scarier
they
if you're
might.
actually close.
Hmm. Like it's their border threat. Like here, there's a lot of fear mongering about the border threat, but I feel like that's an actual tangible threat. Is Kim Jong Un? That feels way more tangible. Mm, Everyone like now. Why do you think they killed the daughter? Like the one who dies is the daughter, and why do you think she was killed? Like as a storytelling choice.
Um, I don't know. I think that was more of a practical decision to make than like a metaphorical one.
I feel like there's different ways to take it. One is she's the one with the best chance of making it out of that family. So taking away the brightest light is one way of it. Another one is she is everyone's favorite character, so killing the favorite character is very popular always. And the other one I felt was she basically killed the housekeeper. Like,
Yeah.
sure, the mom kicked her down the stairs, but I feel like she got the peaches and put her in her face. And I'm like, oh, that's not good for her. She has a very aggressive allergic reaction. So I feel like that or the concussion or combined killed her. So maybe both of the women in the family killed her. But I just feel like maybe it's just payback because she did kill her, so she gets killed back by the husband.
Just from a storytelling perspective, I think it's the practical choice to make because it was set up in the beginning that the father and son have this relationship together, and they often talk about plans and dreams. There was a lot of dialogue about that
Yeah.
gets brought back in the end.
Hmm.
So I think one of the two kids had to die to have that emotional impact. Like, if you're gonna kill one of them, it makes the most sense to kill the daughter because ultimately you have to have that final scene where the son is having like a dream, basically.
Yeah, because he's
You know
with
what I
us at
mean?
the start, so he's got to be with us at the end.
Yeah,
But
so I think it's just more of a practical thing.
I thought The Rock killed him. I really didn't think he made it. Because he
Yeah,
looks very dead.
he did. He did.
And that's the thing is, people make decisions. Everyone makes a bad decision in the end.
Yep.
Let's see. He makes a decision to go kill the guy, and that comes back to bite him. But at the same time, if he didn't do that, his sister is the one who would have gotten caught. Would have been hit by the guy.
Yep.
She would have been ambushed. Because yeah, they show remorse. That entire night is crazy. Just going back to it
Yep.
before the next morning, like that night's crazy. Like when the Kims are back, when the Kims come back and they're under the table, it was like, oh, this is such a tense and awkward moment for them. And then they made it even more tense and awkward for them. It's like, oh, he took it that far with this, and just like there's so many things like they're talking about the family, so the father gets to hear what they really think about him, and the acting's great because you can just see the hurt. You can see it's cutting him pretty deep
Yeah.
because he really liked them, he respected them, and it's cutting him deep. And then the stuff they do, and then they finally get away, and they find that their home has been flooded, and so they not only do they lose power, but just God himself is against them as well. They're getting hit as hard as you can get hit. They lose their home, and it's such a desperate moment when they're in their flooded house.
Yep.
And this daughter's just given up. She's just smoking on the exploding toilet. And I've had in my personal life, I've had something like that, not to that degree where I lost the whole house, but I had something where a flooding issue happened. It just destroyed a lot of stuff my family had. And so I just felt something there. So I was like, just sometimes life just kicks you right in the dick. Really do. They already were in a bad situation because of what's happening in the basement, but then this happens. That's the thing, there's the basement, and then they're in an even lower level here in the city itself. They're at the bottom where the water pools. And it's all just, they're getting kicked so hard. And then when the dad says, the best plan is to have no plan, it's very heartbreaking. Because when you have plans, they always get ruined. And I've had that feeling in my life, where I had all these plans, and then they all just went up. And I'm like, maybe I just shouldn't have a plan. I've had that point in my life. So I felt that a lot. And then, of course, the next morning happens where they don't get any time to breathe. Now the Kims want to do a party, and they don't get to breathe at all. I'm like, oh, geez, this is happening. Yep. And you just watch it all wear on the father. So people are like, why does he kill Mr. Kim? It's like, why wouldn't he at the point he's at? Well, another reason is how callous the Kims are. Because a key thing for me is his daughter's bleeding out. They only care about their son.
Yep.
They make no effort to also help the tutor, which is such a damning indictment of that family. Because for me, it'd be like, all right, we got to get the son. We got to get her too. Because are you kidding me? She's bleeding out. We got to get her to the hospital as well. That is what I would do. I know that's what I'd do. But for them, it's completely only the son matters. We don't care about the girl who's bleeding out on our lawn. And it's just like, I cannot believe that. And I think that's all that's going through his mind is, they don't care about my daughter at all. She's bleeding out here. They don't care.
The entire second or really last third of the movie is you realizing that the Kims are ignorant to everything that the Parks are struggling through, and they just don't care. And that's where you see their true nature pop out. Because in the first half of the movie, you're thinking like, oh my gosh, the Kims are these upright citizens and they're fantastic people. Mm-hmm. They might be a little stupid or something, but you know, the Parks are evil monsters. And then you kind of, the tables turn a bit and you're like, okay, they're all terrible.
Like, they're all parasites in different ways. Like, it's more like, this becomes the indictment of the entire system, is money and classes cause a lot of parasiting between everyone. Like, the poor families parasites on the richer family because they're using them for money and to be in just this better position. Whereas the Kims they're all distant from each other, and they use their connections to the Parks to supplement other things. Like, the wife uses the daughter and the mother as like emotional support. They use them to help her. She uses them to help her come up with ideas. She also uses them to take care of her kids. She uses that family to take care of her kids, so that they do it instead of her. And she wonders why they're so distant from her at the same time. And like, those kids are in ways emotional parasites as well. If you can go that far, where the kid's acting out because he's not getting any attention, and now the sister's giving him attention, so he's not acting out anymore.
There's also the guy under the house.
And the guy under the house is literally being a parasite, where he's feeding off their food and water and everything. And he caused the ghost situation for the boy, which, it's like, oh, okay, that's what happened to the kid. Oh, I thought it was just something intangible. Like, no, this guy literally caused that kid to freak out. There's a lot of good soul to that movie, and just remember, like, I remember when the housekeeper said she cut all the cameras. Like, I wonder how that's going to be relevant. And then it's relevant at the end. It's like, oh, that's where it's relevant.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sign of a great movie where all this stuff is brought up. It's all tied together. It's all relevant at some point. There's nothing mentioned for no reason. You know, everything's intertwined. All these characters crossing paths and, you know, stepping over each other, and then they get stepped over. I mean, it's just so perfectly knit, and like the cinematography, the camera work. I mean, goodness, the lighting, the set itself. That's a fantastic. If you look up the behind the scenes on that, that's pretty cool. There's a ton of green screen work in it, actually.
Oh, really? Wow, didn't know that. I thought that whole thing was just on a. Oh, wow.
They green screened a lot of stuff out and added stuff in the background to make it what they wanted, but they built that house
Hmm.
for the movie. It's just fantastic. It's artfully done, but it's entertaining. And yeah, it's cool. It's super super cool that it won the Oscar for Best Picture. It
It
deserved
deserves
it.
it.
There's no other movie that I watched that was even close. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
And
nominate Ford versus Ferrari. Are you kidding me? No,
been meaning to
that's an
watch
alright
that.
movie.
Been hearing
That's alright.
people. I think my understanding is if you're a creator, you'll appreciate that movie. Is my understanding.
Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah, because it's like creators versus like your boss kind of meddling with your creative process. Is my understanding.
Oh, okay.
Been meaning to watch it. I got to watch it already.
Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting angle. I didn't think of it that way,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Okay. Before we stop talking about Parasite, I think we got to talk about the final shot or the final segment. It's both hopeful and depressing as heck. Because the dad's like, I'm going to put this message out every night because you might be alive, son. I actually don't know if you're alive. I thought he was dead, but he puts out that Morse code message, which just thinking about the light, watching it again, you're like, oh, wow, that light's been happening this whole time. Wow. And the Morse code message to the son, and the son says, here's my plan, Dad, is what I'm going to do. And you're like, oh, wow, that's a hopeful moment. All right. It gives you some hope. It gives you some, like, maybe he can pull this off. I don't know how the hell he's going to pull it off, but maybe he can. And then the final shot is he's just he's back at home. That's what he's going to do. That's his dream. And that's the final shot. And I still feel like it's a cake and eat it too kind of situation where you can choose that he actually pulls it off. But for other interpretations, it is, no, it's just a dream. It's never going to happen. And that's what he wanted. Because he said the final shot's the kill shot.
Mm-hmm.
Where he shows you that this is the son's hope and it's never going to happen. I'm like, damn!
Yeah, I actually don't think there's another way to read it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to suspend everything, okay.
Yeah.
But it's literally the only one of those like flashback / flash forward scenes in the movie that isn't true.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other ones were actually coming to fruition, and that one didn't happen. It's pretty telling because it just the entire movie kind of dispels the idea that you can have any like upward mobility.
Yeah.
You know, because you have the physically the parks have to walk all the way up to the Kim's spot, this like perch all the way up at the top of the city, and after that fateful night where they get kicked out of the house or they kind of have to sneak out, they descend back down. You know, they had that one moment up top, and then it wasn't really their rightful place, I guess is what you could say. They took that spot for just a night. They get kicked all the way back down. They have to descend down the stairs. Their home is destroyed, a disaster, blah blah blah. But yeah, they never actually rise back to that, and it's literally the only one of those flashback flash forward scenes that wasn't real, and I think it's a great way to, without saying it explicitly, that there's no hope for someone in the kid's circumstance to attain that level of wealth. That's just not how it works. It's not how the system works.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because that was the thing he said is when people are like, why are we letting this foreign film be in the Oscars? And he says, it's a local movie. Like, that's a hell of a statement because it is. Because, of course, capitalism, all that is. We are in a point where this movie it's such a believable movie because it really does feel, aside from, of course, the crazy parts, but it's such a human movie, it's such a relatable movie, such a real movie. It deserved the Oscar win. And it really, more people need to see it, I feel, because it gets you thinking about, yeah, there is this kind of just screwed where we are kind of thing. Because we can apply this to real life. In America right now, for anyone who's not in the US or don't know, we're at the point where if you work minimum wage, you actually cannot afford an apartment. The wages are the price of apartments too high, where even minimum wage can't pull it off. Where it used to be totally doable 20, 30 years ago. Now, nowhere in this country is that doable. So upward mobility feels even more stifled than ever. So this movie is extremely relevant.
It is, yeah. And I like how, I mean, if you've seen Snowpiercer, particularly, that's a movie that is very. It's just a giant metaphor,
Yeah.
and there's something about that turns me off, because it feels. There's something deflating about making a metaphor, and just having, because once you know what the metaphor is, it's like, that's kind of lame. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? There's something
Mhm.
lame about, okay, there's a train, all the social classes are on the train. It's like, okay, once you see all the stuff, it's like, I don't. Like, there's nothing intellectual to go away from that with, in my opinion. But in
Yeah.
this, it's believable enough where there's some things that you can see are more of a metaphor where it gets more mystical kind of, but they're elements of the film. It's not the entire film. It's like the film actually works at just as a film,
Mhm.
not just where it's okay, it's a metaphor, and once you know what the metaphor is, it's over. I mean, there's, like I said, there's, you're talking about uh the upper class literally being upper and the lower class literally being lower. And there's the parasite element where you have this guy just living in the basement off of living under the skin basically of the house. So there's elements of the metaphor that it's going for in there, but it actually works just as a movie first. And then if you want to engage with the other things, you can. And I just find myself thinking about it a lot, either the technical aspects or the philosophical aspects. But yeah, it doesn't just deflate after I think about it.
Yeah, that's what makes it good. Is it's very layered, and it takes thought to think about all the layers to it. That's what makes it so good. Whereas, yeah, Snowpiercer's a bit more ham-fisted about it.
Yeah, did you see it?
Uh, I was turned off by it too. Like
Yeah.
I'm watching, like I don't know, I'm not, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get into that movie
There
because
you go.
it was just too obvious about it. Now,
Yeah.
can you go a little couple more minutes, or you?
You got something else?
I just want to talk about Journey real quick and Origami King, and
Yeah,
that's
let's
it.
go. Let's go.
Okay, so Journey is amazing, and it's on PC, it's on Epic, it's on. Everyone should have access to it. You should play it. Oh my god, Journey is great.
Yes.
It's such a quick thing. It's funny as I played Abzu first, not realizing
Really?
that Journey was basically the entire influence on Abzu.
It's like 1-to-1.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is very much Abzu. What the heck? Because I got Abzu, the developer gave it to me, like, hey, check it out, see if you like it. I'm like, all right, this is kind of fun. I like it. Then playing Journey, like, oh, hey, Abzu's this game. All right. And I know Abzu came way later. I played Flower, also by the same company, and Flower was pretty cool. But
Yeah.
Journey, what is interesting about it is you get to play with other people, you don't know who they are, you get a
Yeah.
weird attachment to other people who you can't talk to, but you try to talk to.
Did you know that there were other people when you were playing or not? Because I watched a little bit of your playthrough. Were you aware that there were other players?
Yeah, that was something that I knew a long time ago, that other people are in it. Like, they're not just
Okay, because I
AI.
didn't know that.
Okay, so that was the only aspect I knew, is like there's other people, you can only talk to noise, and that's it. Everything else I had no idea. Like, I tried to be in the
Okay.
dark as much as I could. I just
Yeah.
knew there were other people, and that they weren't AI. And
Yeah.
I went out of my way to get all the scarf increases. And so when I did the LP of it, I was like, hey, check out my big scarf. You like how big my scarf? I kept just talking about it and just
I
comparing
mean,
my
that's
scarf to
you,
the other
right?
person. Yeah.
That's your brand.
It was such a fun LP to do. And then you get to the end with the big struggle.
Oh,
And what's interesting is I was talking with someone else, talking with Jinx. She did it alone. And so it's this struggle alone to get up there. But for me, is I had another person with me.
yeah.
And so we're struggling up, and we just keep making the noises at each other, just pushing each
Yeah.
other on. And it's such
Just
an emotional moment.
Yeah, just barely making it. You're struggling to move forward. You're moving forward at like a snail's pace by the end.
Yeah.
Everything looks lost, and then at the last second, you have this. The last I don't know 10 minutes of that game are just one of the most beautiful things I've ever
Yeah.
seen or played or watched. Whatever. It's just so emotional. I literally cry every single time
I know,
with
I
that
teared up.
song, and you're like ascending to heaven or whatever.
Yeah, I'm getting emotional now. It's such a good moment. And
Oh,
the joy for me, because I was going up, and I was going up with the other person that was with me. We both made it. I was really happy. And like we made it, we struggled, we made it, we overcame this thing. It was such a great moment. And I'm getting choked up now about it. It was such a good moment. And then when you beat it all, you get to see everyone's names. And here was the
Yeah.
kicker about it for me was we got through all of it. And I was with this person for like the last part, and we get to see the names, and then it's done, and their name was like 420 Master 69, and I just laughed my ass off. Like, that's who I was with. I struggled together with 420 Master 69. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, he's like, I was with this guy named LostScarf.
I didn't realize that there were other players playing with me.
You thought they were just all AIs, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know. I didn't think anything of it. I've seen AI that acted like that before. Because everyone does act kind of weird because you're trying to figure out. You kind of randomly hit the button, like the pulse button or whatever. So I could totally have believed that was an AI, and I did. So I didn't think anything of it. And I was like, oh wow, that's amazing that you're playing with somebody. That's a great twist.
Yeah, it's a nice surprise.
Just the sand surfing. The sand surfing that game is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot.
The sun just shimmers on it.
Mm-hmm. Like, it's such a nice looking game. Oh, going back to Fall Guys a moment, thinking about it. Did you see, there was a video where someone helped another person get up the wall in Whirligig?
I did not see that, no.
Okay, so there's a minute-long video where there's a player who just can't get over the wall. They just can't get over it, and another player notices. So they go up the wall in front of them and try to show them. They're still not getting it. So they grab them and then go up the wall again, and they're still not getting it. They keep doing it. They just keep grabbing them. They're still like, you gotta grab, and then you jump up and get on it. And so they keep doing this. And finally, the other player finally understands. They grab the wall and they climb up, and then they jump together, and then they both get eliminated because everyone's across the finish line.
Yep.
And it's just this nice moment of communication without being able to talk, helping someone overcome a situation, and thankfully they got it before time ran out on them, because it would have been really sad if they didn't learn it by the end, because this guy spends a full minute trying to teach them how to get over that wall, because they weren't being able to pull off just jumping off the little box. And so you assume it's either just someone who just can't play very well, it's just a kid or something. And so it was nice seeing someone help someone out without any communication. It's a nice moment.
That is.
Speaking of Journey and going over a hill, Celeste is a game I can recommend. I don't know if you heard this one.
I played it a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Celeste is another game like that, because it's a little girl climbing a mountain and overcoming herself. That's a really good game. If you can get through it, because it does get hard. The story to that is, it'll get you too. I think Journey will get you more, but Journey is one of those experiences.
I enjoyed Celeste a lot. It was really satisfying gameplay. It wasn't so much that it was too hard. I don't know. There's a lot of games where I start them and I'm like, oh, this is great, and then I just don't finish. Origami King, I haven't finished yet. I'm maybe halfway, a little more than halfway.
You remember what color you're on?
I'm in the desert, actually.
Okay, so you're that far. So you're past the boulder.
Yeah, I'm past the boulder.
The boulder was such a moment for me.
Man, I don't know why do they do things. I wish the partners mattered. I would have preferred the other style combat, but it's still a great game. It's annoying. I don't know why they are the way they are.
For me, Bobby mattered.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I understand the complaints, but I feel like anyone who's not playing it because it's not the old games is doing a disservice to themselves.
Yes.
Because for me, I can't give anything away, but when the game finished, I cried.
Yeah.
I really, really like this game. It's a 10 out of 10 for me, even with the combat being what it is.
Wow.
The reason why I get okay with the combat is because JRPGs, same thing. Eventually, you just get bored of it. Eventually, it just gets tedious. So it's the same thing.
I agree.
Like, Thousand Year Door eventually gets tedious.
I think that's true. I got tedious of it very early, and I find myself avoiding fights.
Yeah, which is understandable. That's actually something I really appreciated is I'm not beholden to XP. Yep. So, because I'm doing the LP right now, I like that I have like an hour-long stretch in this game and I didn't do a single battle. I'm just doing story and I'm enjoying the story. I like that. I like that a lot. But if you want to 100% the game, you need at least 200 battles. So, well, when I beat the game, I got the 200 battles, so I was okay on that trophy. But I really enjoyed it. The music is amazing. I love how creative they are with the music, where every area has its own song, and the battle music is an improvement of the song into battle.
Yep.
And yeah, for me, it's 10 out of 10. It's in the top 3. I don't know where it is in the top 3. It might be number 1 for me, which is blasphemy to say against Thousand Year Door. I like Thousand Year Door a lot. What I really, really like about this game is, what's one of the problems with Thousand Year Door? That is the insane amount of backtracking. There's very little backtracking in Origami King. But Thousand Year Door, of course, is such a good, memorable game, and it's a valid complaint. You don't have these memorable... I still like the companions in Origami King, but they're not Bombette. They're not Goombette. I think her name's Goombette. They're not, suddenly forgetting names. They're not Vivi. They're not... no, that's Vivian, or I think Vivi's...
Vivian, yeah.
Yeah.
Vivian,
Vivi's,
there's
something else.
the rat character, the mouse.
Yeah, the mouse lady.
Koopa, the Koopa kid.
Yeah, the Koopa kid, the Goomba kid.
The actual the Bomb guy in that one was better than the Bomb than Bobby, I think. I mean, I like Bobby, but he's useless, so it's hard to like him that much.
See, like, there's the Captain Bob-Omb, then there's Bombette from the first Paper Mario.
Yeah.
There's Koops. Like, Koops is a good character. Like, there's a lot of characters that are very memorable. Yeah. And when it comes to Origami King, the most memorable characters, to an extent, Bobby's memorable, especially what his story goes through. He has character development, which I appreciate. The guy you have in the desert, he's alright. The next companion's fun, but he's just fun. Like, there's a companion per level. The later companions are fun characters. And there's some things, but I think Bobby's the best one because he has character development. And his story is just... His story's special. Because you go on this revenge tale with him. And you don't realize you're going on a revenge tale. And when you're on the boat with Bobby and he talks about how Bob-Omb's... the life of a Bob-Omb, like, that changed my perspective on Bob-Ombs and games in general. It really did.
Did you enjoy the boss battles being like? Because I really like the way they set up the boss battles, but I'm not sure how much I like the boss battles characters themselves. Even though I think they got the most out of them, like, I enjoyed them, but I probably would have preferred some unique stuff as opposed to
stationary.
You know, yeah, like they're just. It's like pencils or crayons or something. You know what I mean?
I absolutely love the novelty of it. I liked it because it's such a challenge to try to make a stationary thing be a boss. It's like creatively a challenge that they took on, and the color pencil fight was hype. I love that fight. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
When you grab the pencils and you jam it into the container, it's like, oh, that's so good. That's hype. The second boss was Rubber Band Man. Creatively, it's pretty fun. It's not the most interesting fight, but it's as a creative idea, it's kind of fun. The upcoming bosses have different fun things about them. They have different gimmicks. They're fun to fight. I personally enjoyed them because when you do something as silly as stationary, it's a challenge to the developer to make it worth playing. And if you buy into it, it's worth it. If you didn't buy into it, some people didn't buy into it. They didn't care for it. They thought it was dumb. And so for them, it wasn't that great. For me, I like the novelty. I like that every boss fight had a different gimmick. Because it's the same thing with the elementals. Like the turtle had a gimmick to him.
The elementals are interesting. I like those a lot. I like those fights. I really enjoy the boss fight mechanic a lot more than I did the normal fights. Like, it does feel like a treat when you get to do a boss fight.
Yeah, I think the normal fights... Yeah, like, the normal fights are just tedious. There's no way around it. The normal fights are tedious, but the boss fights are pretty fun and creative.
Yeah.
And it's what I appreciate about the Paper Mario games is they've always been really creative in a lot of ways. Good or bad, they've always been pretty creative. They keep evolving. They don't just stay put. That's the thing. Some people wish they stayed at Thousand Year Door. And I'm okay that they evolved past it.
I would have liked to have seen them evolve and also not just abandon the mechanics from the old one at the same time. I don't know.
It's a hard back and forth.
Because they know what people want and they're just intentionally avoiding it, and it's a little annoying. Like not having companions, like true companions,
mhm.
in battle and it just in your party. Why not? Why? What's the point? I don't. It's clearly the way it was in Thousand Year Door. I don't even think there's an argument that it was. It's clearly better. Like the way that they had the characters join you for the party, like that setup is better. I don't.
Yeah.
Would you argue for the other side or no?
No, like you can't. I don't think you can argue against it. I think Thousand Year Door is a hit for a reason. It was a really good
Yeah.
game for a reason. People love. It's number one for a lot of people for a reason. It's really good.
Yeah.
And
But not you. Not you.
like, I just think accepting where they've gone. I absolutely loved Thousand Year Door. I love Thousand Year, but I absolutely loved Origami King. I think if you take it as its own thing, Origami King is a 10 out of 10. If you take it as its pedigree and where it's come from, and if you love Thousand Year Door, which everyone does,
Yeah.
it's just not the same beast. Like what helped was when we had Mario and Luigi's games, it gave the hardcore people that like Thousand Year Door, gave them somewhere to go. But
Yeah.
now that company's gone. Like
There's a strange amount of wandering in Paper Mario
Yeah.
Origami King too. I was confused by that. There's so much just driving around or walking around. I was just that part didn't really make sense to me in any way, like either for this game or for any Paper Mario game. I was just confused why there was so much walking in these massive open spaces.
For me, I think that's always been something they've been guilty of, though. Like all the way back to Super Mario, they've always been guilty of these big areas. I will say thematically it makes sense for the desert and the ocean because well they're a desert and they're an ocean.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like they help with the scope of the world, but it is like well this just big stretch of walking because of this. But I think that's why they gave you the boot. Now, if they didn't think of the boot from the beginning, holy crap. The boot was needed to get around that desert. Just like how you need the boat to get around the ocean. It would have been so much slower if we didn't have those things. So I think that they knew it was going to be a long stretch, so you got to do stuff like that. The game never really dragged for me, thankfully. That's something that really helped with Origami King for me. Is it didn't drag. While Thousand Year Door does have drag moments because there's a lot of backtracking.
I will agree. The backtracking is a problem in Thousand Year Door. I will say the pace of Origami King has gotten me a little bit, and that's probably contributing to why I haven't picked it up in a little bit.
Yeah, I'd say
I'll get back to it eventually.
The pacing of it is odd. There's times when you're just marinating on the game. Thinking about it, yeah, there's parts where you're just marinating in it. I just had a blast the whole time though. The full LP for me is like 49 episodes. It's gonna be like 49 hours. So 50 hours of playing this game is what I did.
Yep.
And I enjoyed it. I didn't regret any minute. That's what I feel about that game. That's why it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Because I have games where I've played like this was pretty enjoyable, but there's these moments that I just did not really like.
Well, what can I say? We're two different people. I can't say that's me. I probably put in like 12 or 15 hours maybe, but if I'm at the point where it's like I want to get to the good stuff, but I don't want to slog through the stuff I don't like. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, anyway.
In the end, everyone's got the things that they can do. Just for me, I thought it was 10 out of 10. It's in the top 3.
Yeah.
In there is Super Paper Mario. I really like Super Paper Mario as well.
Never played that one.
I'm surprised by how many people don't like it. I just thought it's because it's not Thousand Year Door, partially.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. I don't know if Paper Jam counts because it's also a Mario and Luigi game. Paper Jam's really good and creative. And we'll end there. I say it's worth playing. I say it's worth finishing. It's such a good story. It got me a lot. It really got me emotionally a lot. And I'll say Celeste is worth finishing too.
Yeah. Eventually I'll get to Celeste. Eventually I'll get to Paper Mario and finish it. But currently I'm just going to watch Metal Gear Solid cutscenes.
Alright, well, 3 is my favorite, and you're watching it right now. So,
I am.
That's cool. Like, it's got some crazy moments to it. As always, I'm actually kind of curious about the LP you're watching. You're watching because the Sorrow does some things in there. And
so the guy I'm watching,
Yeah.
they took all of the cutscenes.
Mhm.
They show you some of the boss battles, and they'll show you some of the relevant gameplay.
Okay.
But there's very little gameplay. They will only
Okay.
really show you the boss battles when it comes down to gameplay. There's some incidental gameplay that gets shown.
Okay.
So, but I don't really need to see it because I know what it looks like. You know, I've seen Metal Gear be played before.
Okay. Because what's weird about 3 is you can do first-person view through Snake. And the Sorrow is this really ghostly guy.
Yep.
He shows up in first-person view quite a bit. And he fixed the story because of that. Like, if you're playing it that way, if you go through first-person view, you see the Sorrow quite a bit, and it does affect how you play the game, because he gives you, like, passwords and stuff. He's like, this is how you get out of here. It's like, oh, thanks, the Sorrow. Thank you for helping me. Also, the Sorrow is a very interesting segment. You're not there yet with the Sorrow, but the Sorrow segment is very interesting depending on how you played the game. And
All right.
Now we're going to have to talk about that in the future.
Okay.
But it's
I got to run.
Yeah, so it's been fun talking to you. We'll have you on again in the future, I'm sure. Good talk. I think this is really good.
Yeah.
Anything you want to shout out randomly?
The Boys. The Boys season 1 and 2. It's shocking. So if you're not someone if you're squeamish about violence and or potentially offensive things, I wouldn't watch it, but it's good.
Okay, I'm at least curious, and I have Amazon Prime, so I can check it out.
It's worth a watch, and if you don't like it after the first episode, like it immediately confronts you, so you'll figure out if you like it or not by episode 1.
That's good.
Yeah.
So it's
shocking.
Well, literally, I know there's a character. So that right there is basically a podcast here, talking with Spiff Benevolent. Very fun time. No idea who the next guest is going to be, but I'm sure it'll be fun because we're talking, and talking is a fun thing to do. So I have fun. Have you fun watching? That's what's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.